Hello and welcome. Today we're going through my top 10 favorite movie sequels. So sit back, relax, check out this intro, and we'll jump right in. Welcome once again. My name is Austin, and this channel is all about digging deeper and going further to better understand faith and film and everything that's in between. If that sounds exciting to you, make sure you click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any content that I put out. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Now, quick disclaimer before I give you my top 10. This is my list. It's not a best list, it's my favorites list. So my list is going to be very different from yours, and that's the best part. Make sure you comment down below with your picks for some of your favorite movie sequels. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Number 10, and note this is not in any particular order, this is just a list of my 10. Not necessarily 10 being my least of my favorites and 1 being most of my favorites. And with that in mind, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is an incredible film. Batman Begins established a new character, a new kind of continuity for the world of Batman and all that entailed. And The Dark Knight opens up the world of Batman and gives us incredibly deep and rich mythology with the character of Batman and Bruce Wayne, along with the character of Gotham and what that represents for Batman, as well as the audience taking it all in. And of course, the cherry on top, we have Heath Ledger's Joker performance. You cannot go wrong with The Dark Knight. And as much as I love Batman Begins, you cannot deny the fact that The Dark Knight is a superior follow-up. Next, we have The Raid 2. Now, The Raid, Redemption, or just The Raid, in my opinion, is one of the greatest action movies ever made. And how do you follow up one of the greatest action movies ever made? Well, you take the parts of the movie that were good and cool in the first and just add so much more to it. The best thing that The Raid 2 does for the Raid duology, if you would call it that, is add a rich and well-developed story, because the first movie is great, but the action is front and foremost, and there's nothing wrong with front and foremost action in a movie, but the story was a bit lacking, though it didn't necessarily detract from the movie. The Raid 2 comes in and fills in all those gaps, giving us a well-thought-out, well-conveyed story filled with awesome new characters, of course some excellent new fight scenes, and it just really caps off this perfect duology of the Raid action movies. Next, I'm going to go with Aliens, and this is definitely not the only time you're going to see James Cameron on this list. But what else can I say about Aliens that's not been said? Probably nothing. But the fact that James Cameron was able to take a sci-fi horror slow burn of a movie and develop and evolve it into one of the greatest action movies ever made is an astounding achievement. James Cameron phenomenally directs the action and the characters and the story of Aliens. We get a richer, more explored and developed world of Alien. We get introduced to some awesome and iconic new characters, as well as just elevating this franchise to a level that unfortunately since that movie we have not reached. There's been some really good attempts. We cannot reach the level of achievement that Aliens was able to accomplish. Next, in the spot of number 7, I'm going to go with the Bourne Supremacy. The Bourne trilogy, or quadrilogy if you count the Jason Bourne more recent release, is some of my favorite movies. And as much as I love each movie in that quadrilogy, I really have a special place in my heart for the Bourne Supremacy. The Bourne Identity really challenged Matt Damon to do something different from what he was typically doing at that time, and it really reinvented himself in the character and the role of Jason Bourne. Then step in Bourne Supremacy, and that character is much more competent, capable, and much more knowledgeable of the world that he lives in and what he needs to do next. And just that bit of understanding and evolution that takes place from Bourne Identity to Bourne Supremacy, I think, is what makes the sequel so good, and just a hair over Bourne Identity for me personally. Next, one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, Spider-Man II. This is the original Tobey Maguire trilogy, and Spider-Man is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time as well. And what Spider-Man 2 did for me was bring in a even more developed and engaging character in the role of the villain, being Dr. Octopus. Not only that, we get some leveled up special effects, as well as the continued practical effects that the first movie brought. The blend of the two of them together is great. I absolutely love Peter Parker's character arc throughout this one, as he is challenged when it comes to finding that balance of with his responsibilities as Peter Parker and his responsibility as Spider-Man. I love the clash that this movie brings and the ultimate resolution that we find in the end. Spider-Man 2 will probably forever go down as one of my favorite superhero movies and absolutely one of my favorite sequels of all time. James Cameron makes a triumphant return with T2 Judgment Day. The Terminator franchise is another similar example to that of the Alien franchise. The first one is much more subdued, a little bit more of a sci-fi horror movie, where it has its action moments, but there's some horrifying aspects to it in the character of the Terminator just being this merciless, mindless killing machine. Then enter T2 Judgment Day, we get an massively expanded world of the Terminator, as we now get to reimagine what the Terminator character can be and how that can evolve throughout the franchise depending on what takes place, where, and when. The special effects and action sequences in this movie can still go toe-to-toe with movies that are coming out to this day, and that is an incredible testimony to the power and to the competency that this movie was crafted with. It is a masterpiece of action cinema and also one of my favorite sequels of all time. Next is M. Night Shyamalan's Split. One of the greatest compliments I can give this movie is the fact that it is a sequel, which is awesome. Unbreakable is an incredibly unique superhero movie experience, and Split is one of the best kept secrets in cinema history of being the secret sequel to Unbreakable. And the moment that it is revealed at the end as we reach the credits that it is an Unbreakable sequel is an awe-inspiring and incredibly electrifying moment. And the fact that it was something that was able to be kept secret up until the movie's release is incredible. Not only can this movie stand on its own, but the fact that it can tie in and further expand the world of M. Night Shyamalan's superhero take is beautiful. I love the way that this trilogy kind of goes and the things that it does to make us look at the superhero genre a little bit differently. And Split absolutely makes my list as one of my favorite movie sequels. Coming into the final three now, next we have X2, X-Men United. I have a very special place in my heart for each of the X-Men movies, especially the original trilogy. They were some of the first superhero movies I was exposed to. I still have memories watching them with my dad for the first time in our living room growing up, and X2, X-Men United took everything that was great about the first one and then just took it to a whole new level with a deeper, more enriched story and world, as well as more characters and more exciting action. All of it ties together so excellently, and this movie without a doubt for me makes it into my top 10 for favorite movie sequels. Next we have a movie in a duology that I hope is not a duology much longer, and that is Sherlock Holmes: A Game of Shadows. I absolutely love the Robert Downey Jr., Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies. They're so much fun, so adventurous, and reward the audience for paying attention and figuring it out. And I love when a movie challenges you to pay attention and figure it out along with the characters while still, in the end, surprising you. A Game of Shadows took the character of Sherlock Holmes that we established in the first movie and brings about the new challenge of the villain of Moriarty, and I love that we get a little bit more depth to Sherlock Holmes' little world that he has, meeting a bit of his family, as well as learning more about his past. All of this makes for an excellent series that I cannot wait to see continued. Fingers crossed in the upcoming Sherlock Holmes 3 to complete this awesome trilogy. Finally, to wrap up my list of top 10 favorite movie sequels of all time, we have one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes takes literally everything from Rise of the Planet of the Apes and ups it exponentially. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a great movie, but Dawn of the Planet of the Apes takes it to an absolute massive and new level. From the special effects to the story to the characters, the authenticity of the effects and the performance capture that is used to enhance the characters of the apes on screen is awe-inspiring. And Andy Serkis gives Oscar-worthy performances in all three of these movies. And as much as I love War for the Planet of the Apes, Dawn has just a bit more and gives it that little bit of edge to come in ahead. So that concludes my list of my top 10 favorite movie sequels of all time. Do not forget, comment yours down below. Remember, my list is going to be different from your list, and that's awesome. And I cannot wait to hear about some of your favorite movie sequels as we converse down below. So thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you have clicked that like button and subscribed so you don't miss out on any new content. I'll see you in the next video.